Pressure reveals the truth about the human mind. Not comfort, not success, not easy days. Pressure. The moment life becomes difficult, the real structure of a person's mind appears. Some people collapse when things go wrong. Others become sharper, calmer, almost unshakable. The difference is not talent, it is not intelligence, and it is definitely not luck. The difference is mental conditioning. Most people are not weak. They are simply comfortable. Comfort slowly trains the mind to avoid stress, avoid pain, avoid responsibility, and avoid discipline. And while comfort feels safe in the moment, it quietly destroys mental strength. A comfortable mind panics when problems arrive. A comfortable mind overthinks when pressure rises. A comfortable mind breaks when life stops going according to plan. That is why so many people today feel overwhelmed by even small challenges. The modern world has made comfort easy, but it has also made the mind fragile. The brutal truth is that life will test everyone. Plans collapse without warning. People disappoint you. Opportunities disappear. Effort does not always bring reward. In those moments, motivation will not save you. Positive thinking will not save you. Only a trained mind survives pressure. History quietly proves this again and again. The most resilient people who ever lived were not protected by comfort. Ancient Stoic thinkers trained their minds to face loss, hardship, and uncertainty long before those things arrived. Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the most powerful empires in history, yet he constantly reminded himself that chaos, betrayal, and suffering were natural parts of life. Instead of resisting reality, he trained his mind to face it directly. Epictetus was born a slave, living under conditions that would break most people today, yet he developed one of the most powerful mental philosophies ever recorded. These individuals did not wait for life to become easy. They built minds that could handle difficulty. That is the difference between a fragile mind and an unbreakable one. And the truth is that most people are never taught how to build that kind of mental strength. Schools rarely teach it. Society rarely encourages it. Instead, people are taught to chase comfort, approval, and temporary happiness. But comfort creates dependence, approval creates weakness, and chasing happiness often leads to frustration. A mentally unbreakable person follows a completely different path. They train themselves to remain calm when others panic. They control their emotions when others react. They stay disciplined when others quit. And they understand something most people never realize: the mind can be trained just like the body. This training is built on a few brutal laws that are not soft, motivational, or comforting. Laws that challenge the way most people think about success, struggle, emotions, and control. These laws force the mind to adapt to reality instead of escaping from it. And once these ideas take root, the mind begins to change in powerful ways. Fear loses its grip, pressure becomes manageable, disappointment becomes temporary, problems stop feeling like personal attacks and start becoming challenges that can be handled with clarity. Many people spend years searching for motivation, yet motivation fades quickly. Real strength comes from mental structure, a set of principles that guide how you react to stress, failure, criticism, and uncertainty. Without these principles, every obstacle feels personal, every setback feels overwhelming, every criticism feels like an attack. But once the mind understands these brutal laws, something shifts. The emotional chaos begins to quiet down, decisions become clearer, discipline becomes easier, and resilience becomes natural instead of forced. In this video, you will learn 8 brutal laws that rewire the way your mind responds to reality. These are not surface-level ideas designed to make you feel good for a few minutes. These are deeper mental principles used by some of the strongest thinkers and leaders throughout history. Each law attacks a hidden weakness in the human mind. One law will challenge the addiction to comfort that slowly weakens mental discipline. Another will reveal why uncontrolled emotions quietly give power to other people and external circumstances. One will expose the dangerous illusion that life is supposed to be fair, an illusion that causes endless frustration when reality refuses to cooperate. Another law will show how focusing on the wrong things drains energy and creates stress that should never exist in the first place. You will also discover why many ancient philosophers intentionally exposed themselves to discomfort, hunger, and difficulty even when they did not have to. This idea may sound extreme in a modern world built around convenience, but it was one of the most powerful mental training methods ever practiced. There is also a law that explains why attachment to outcomes silently destroys peace of mind, and why people who detach from results often perform better in the long run. Another law focuses on a truth that many people try to ignore. Time is limited. When the mind truly understands this, priorities change in powerful ways. And finally, one law will reveal why seeking approval from others is one of the fastest ways to lose control over your own life. These ideas may feel uncomfortable at first because they challenge common beliefs about happiness, success, and security. But discomfort is exactly where mental strength begins. By the time this video ends, you will see mental resilience through a completely different lens. You will understand why some individuals remain calm in chaos while others fall apart under pressure. More importantly, you will begin to recognize the patterns that slowly weaken the mind and the principles that rebuild it stronger than before. So stay with this video until the end, because the final law is often the one that changes people the most. It forces a shift in perspective that many individuals never experience in their entire lives. If you are someone who wants to think more clearly, act more decisively, and remain steady when life becomes unpredictable, these ideas will give you the foundation to start building that kind of mindset. Welcome to the channel, where we explore discipline, mental clarity, and the timeless principles of Stoic wisdom that help people develop stronger, calmer, and more resilient minds. If you are serious about mastering your thoughts instead of being controlled by them, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join a community focused on mental strength, self-control, and personal mastery. Reality becomes uncomfortable the moment a person realizes that most of the struggles in life do not come from the outside world. They come from the mind reacting to the outside world. Many people spend years trying to fix their lives by changing external conditions. They chase higher income, more recognition, more approval, more comfort, more security. The belief is simple: if the environment improves, peace of mind will follow. If circumstances become easier, the mind will feel stronger. But this idea quietly creates a fragile mindset. Because the external world is unstable by nature, money can disappear, relationships can change, opportunities can collapse without warning, even reputation can turn against a person overnight. When someone builds their stability on these external things, their inner state becomes dependent on forces they cannot control. This is where frustration begins. One problem appears, and the mind becomes restless. A setback appears, and the mind becomes anxious. A criticism appears, and the mind becomes defensive. The deeper problem is not the situation itself. The deeper problem is the condition of the mind facing the situation. Stoic thinkers understood this truth thousands of years ago. They saw clearly that external improvement does not automatically create internal strength. A person with a weak mind can suffer even in comfort. A person with a strong mind can remain stable even in chaos. This is why mental discipline was considered more important than external success. A trained mind does not depend on perfect circumstances. It adapts to imperfect ones. It absorbs pressure without collapsing. It observes problems without immediately reacting. It maintains clarity while others lose control. This is not a personality trait someone is born with. It is the result of deliberate mental training. The modern world rarely emphasizes this kind of training. Instead, it offers constant stimulation and instant solutions. When something feels uncomfortable, the common response is to escape it. When something feels difficult, the instinct is to avoid it. But avoiding difficulty slowly weakens the mind. Every time a person escapes pressure, the brain learns that discomfort is something dangerous. Over time, this creates a pattern where even small challenges begin to feel overwhelming. The mind loses its tolerance for stress. The person begins to overthink situations that should require calm decisions. Small conflicts start feeling like major crises. This is why mental strength is not built through comfort. It is built through controlled exposure to difficulty. The first brutal law that rewires the mind begins with discomfort. Growth lives inside discomfort, even though most people spend their lives running away from it. Hard conversations are avoided because they feel awkward. Hard work is delayed because it feels exhausting. Hard discipline is postponed because it feels restrictive. But each time a person escapes these moments, the mind becomes slightly weaker. It becomes more dependent on ease and convenience. The person begins to shape their life around avoiding stress instead of building resilience. Strong individuals reverse this pattern. They move toward discomfort instead of away from it. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because they understand its purpose. Discomfort is a form of mental resistance training. Just like muscles grow stronger when they face resistance, the mind grows stronger when it faces challenge. A difficult conversation builds emotional courage. Intense work builds endurance. Discipline builds control over impulses. These experiences create a mind that becomes familiar with pressure instead of fearing it. Over time, the brain stops interpreting discomfort as danger. It begins to recognize it as growth. This is why some individuals remain calm in situations that cause others to panic. Their minds have already been trained to operate under pressure. The next brutal law focuses on emotions, which are often misunderstood. Emotions themselves are not weaknesses. They are natural signals produced by the mind. Anger signals perceived injustice. Fear signals potential danger. Sadness signals loss. These emotional signals are not the problem. The problem begins when emotions take control of decisions. When anger dominates behavior, people lose the ability to think clearly. Words are spoken without restraint. Actions are taken without foresight. Damage occurs before the mind regains control. When fear dominates behavior, opportunities disappear. The mind becomes focused on avoiding risk instead of evaluating possibilities. Growth stops because the person begins to protect themselves from imagined threats. When frustration dominates behavior, patience disappears. Every obstacle feels personal. Every delay feels unbearable. In these moments, the mind is no longer leading, it is reacting. And when someone reacts emotionally to every stimulus, their behavior becomes predictable and easily influenced by others. Mentally strong individuals develop a different relationship with their emotions. Instead of instantly obeying them, they observe them. Anger is noticed without being unleashed. Fear is recognized without being obeyed. Frustration is acknowledged without controlling decisions. This small shift creates enormous power. Observing emotions creates distance between feeling and action. In that space, reason can operate. Instead of reacting impulsively, the person chooses a response deliberately. This ability transforms the mind from reactive to controlled. Over time, emotional storms lose their power because the mind refuses to surrender control. Another brutal law becomes clear once a person begins observing reality honestly. Life is not fair. This statement feels harsh because people are raised with the expectation that fairness should exist in every situation. Effort should lead to reward. Loyalty should lead to trust. Kindness should lead to respect. But reality does not always follow these rules. Honest people can struggle while dishonest individuals succeed temporarily. Hard workers can be overlooked while careless individuals receive recognition. Loyal individuals can experience betrayal from people they trusted deeply. When someone believes that life must be fair, these moments create intense anger and confusion. The mind starts asking why injustice exists. It begins replaying events again and again, searching for explanations. But this mental struggle does not change reality. It only drains energy. Strong minds accept a difficult truth. Fairness is not guaranteed. Acceptance does not mean approving of injustice. It means recognizing that the universe does not operate according to personal expectations. Once this realization settles into the mind, something powerful happens. Energy stops being wasted on complaining about reality. That energy becomes available for action, adaptation, and strategy. Acceptance creates clarity. It allows a person to focus on how to respond instead of why something happened. This shift removes a huge emotional burden that weak minds carry for years. Another law that strengthens the mind focuses on control. Many people suffer because they direct their attention toward things they cannot control. They worry about other people's opinions. They replay past mistakes that cannot be changed. They become anxious about unpredictable events in the future. The mind becomes trapped in battles that can never be won. This constant mental resistance creates exhaustion. Stoic thinkers taught a powerful distinction that separates strong minds from fragile ones. Some things are within control. Many things are not. Thoughts can be directed. Actions can be chosen. Discipline can be practiced. Integrity can be maintained. These areas belong entirely to the individual. But other people's choices, the past, random outcomes, and external events do not belong to personal control. When someone focuses on these uncontrollable areas, they surrender their peace of mind to uncertainty. Mentally unbreakable individuals train themselves to redirect attention back to their own thoughts and actions. If a situation cannot be controlled, it is accepted. If a reaction can be controlled, it is disciplined. This habit protects mental energy and keeps the mind stable even when the environment becomes unpredictable. The next law may sound unusual in a world built around comfort. It involves practicing voluntary hardship. Most people experience hardship only when life forces it upon them. Financial stress appears unexpectedly. Illness disrupts normal routines. Loss enters life without warning. When someone has lived entirely in comfort before these moments, the shock becomes overwhelming. The mind has never practiced resilience. Stoic philosophers believed that controlled exposure to hardship prepared the mind for reality. They sometimes chose temporary discomfort, even when they could afford comfort. Simple meals replaced luxury. Cold environments replaced constant warmth. Silence replaced endless distraction. These practices were not acts of self-punishment. They were exercises in mental independence. The person proved to themselves that comfort was not necessary for stability. If comfort disappeared, the mind would still function calmly. Voluntary hardship builds confidence because it removes the fear of losing convenience. A person who knows they can survive discomfort no longer feels controlled by it. Another law focuses on attachment to outcomes. Many individuals connect their happiness to results they cannot fully control. Winning a competition becomes necessary for self-worth. Approval from others becomes necessary for confidence. Success becomes necessary for peace of mind. This attachment creates emotional instability because outcomes are influenced by many variables. Effort alone does not guarantee victory. Preparation alone does not guarantee recognition. Even the best plans can fail due to unpredictable events. When happiness depends on outcomes, every setback feels devastating. Mentally strong individuals detach their emotional stability from results. They shift focus toward effort and character instead. Did they act with discipline? Did they give honest effort? Did they follow their principles? These questions remain within personal control. When satisfaction comes from effort instead of outcome, the mind becomes far more stable. Success becomes enjoyable, but not necessary for inner balance. Failure becomes information rather than humiliation. This mindset allows people to persist longer than those who collapse after disappointment. Another powerful law involves remembering that life is short. Time is often ignored because it moves quietly. Days pass without dramatic signals. Weeks disappear through routine. Years fade while people remain busy with small distractions. Many individuals behave as if time will always be available later. Important goals are delayed. Meaningful conversations are postponed. Personal growth is postponed. But when the mind truly understands that time is limited, priorities begin to shift. Distractions lose their appeal. Petty arguments lose their importance. Procrastination becomes harder to justify. The awareness of limited time creates urgency and clarity at the same moment. Each day becomes more valuable because it cannot be replaced. Stoic thinkers frequently reflected on mortality, not to create fear, but to sharpen focus. When someone remembers that life will eventually end, they begin to treat time with respect. This awareness strengthens discipline and removes hesitation that keeps many people stuck in comfortable stagnation. The final brutal law involves approval. Many people shape their behavior around how others will react. Decisions are filtered through the possibility of criticism. Opinions are softened to avoid disagreement. Goals are adjusted to fit social expectations. This habit slowly removes personal independence. When approval becomes necessary, the mind becomes controlled by external judgment. People begin living according to what others find acceptable instead of what they believe is right. Mentally unbreakable individuals live by principles rather than approval. Principles act like internal laws that guide behavior regardless of outside opinion. Integrity remains steady even when nobody is watching. Discipline continues even when nobody is praising. Honesty remains even when dishonesty would be easier. Living by principles creates a powerful sense of internal authority. The person no longer needs constant validation because their standards come from within. This independence can appear intimidating to others because it cannot be manipulated easily. A person guided by principles does not bend every time external pressure appears. As these laws reshape the mind, a transformation slowly begins to take place. Emotional reactions become calmer. Comfort loses its addictive grip. Approval stops controlling decisions. Fear stops dominating thoughts. The individual who once reacted impulsively begins acting with intention. Discipline replaces avoidance. Clarity replaces confusion. Detachment replaces desperation. The mind becomes capable of standing steady in situations that once created anxiety. Pressure stops feeling like a threat and begins feeling like a challenge that can be managed. This transformation does not occur overnight. It develops gradually as each principle becomes a habit practiced repeatedly in daily life. Over time, the difference becomes obvious. Where the old mindset was emotional, the new mindset becomes calm. Where the old mindset depended on comfort, the new mindset becomes disciplined.
Where the old mindset searched for approval, the new mindset follows principles. Where the old mindset reacted with fear, the new mindset responds with focus. This is the process of becoming mentally unbreakable. The world does not break weak people as often as it reveals them. Difficult moments expose the structure of the mind that already exists. When the mind is trained through these brutal laws, those same difficult moments stop being destructive. They become opportunities to apply strength that has already been built. Train the mind long enough, and a powerful realization appears. Nothing outside has the ability to break a mind that has learned how to remain steady within itself.
Strength of mind is not built in a moment of comfort. It is built in the quiet decisions a person makes when life becomes difficult. Every challenge you face from this point forward will test the structure of your thinking. Some moments will try to pull you back into old habits. Some situations will try to provoke anger, fear, or frustration. But once you understand these laws, something begins to change. You start noticing your reactions before they control you. You start recognizing when comfort is weakening your discipline. You start choosing clarity over emotional chaos. That is how a stronger mind is built, not through sudden inspiration, but through repeated awareness and control. The truth is that the world will never stop testing people. Pressure will appear again and again. Situations will not always go according to plan. Some people will disappoint you. Some opportunities will vanish before you can reach them. But a trained mind does not collapse when reality becomes unpredictable. A trained mind adapts. It stays steady when others panic. It thinks clearly when others react. It moves forward when others give up. This is the difference between living as a victim of circumstances and living as the master of your own mind. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control the outside world. They chase approval, comfort, recognition, and security, hoping those things will finally bring them peace. But real stability does not come from controlling the world around you. It comes from controlling the mind within you. Once the mind becomes disciplined, the external world loses much of its power to disturb you. Problems become manageable, stress becomes temporary, setbacks become lessons instead of defeats. The journey toward becoming mentally unbreakable begins with small choices repeated every day. Choosing discipline when comfort is easier, choosing calm when emotions are louder, choosing focus when distractions are everywhere. These decisions slowly reshape the way your mind operates. Over time, you begin to notice something powerful. Situations that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same effect. Pressure becomes easier to carry. Criticism becomes easier to ignore. Uncertainty becomes easier to face. This is the quiet power of mental training. It does not always look dramatic from the outside, but internally everything changes. The mind becomes clearer. The reactions become slower and more deliberate. The emotional storms become weaker. Instead of feeling pushed around by circumstances, you begin to feel grounded and stable, even when life becomes unpredictable. And the truth is that very few people ever reach this level of mental control because most people never train their minds consistently. They wait for motivation instead of building discipline. They chase inspiration instead of developing principles. But the individuals who do commit to this path become different. Their confidence no longer depends on praise. Their peace no longer depends on perfect conditions. Their direction no longer depends on what others expect from them. If this video shifted the way you think about mental strength, then you are already taking the first step toward building a stronger mind. Keep learning. Keep challenging your own thinking. Keep training yourself to respond to life with discipline instead of impulse. Because once the mind becomes strong, almost nothing outside of you can truly shake it. If you value content that helps you build clarity, discipline, and real mental resilience, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next videos. This channel is dedicated to developing stronger thinking, deeper self-control, and the timeless wisdom that helps people master their own minds. If you found this video useful, take a moment to like it, because that support helps the channel reach more people who are trying to strengthen their mindset, and share this video with someone who is also working on becoming mentally stronger. Sometimes a single idea can change the way a person sees themselves and the challenges they face. Thank you for spending this time strengthening your mind here. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and I will see you in the next video.